Dr. Alan Sabrosky, thank you so much for. But sorry to interrupt you, but we have another question to ask. By far, the Zionists defend the blockade as essential for its security. Do you think the Zionists have been successful in maintaining their security, in imposing the siege?
I'm sorry, your voice broke up then. I could not hear that. Your voice broke up.
But by far the Zionists, from the very beginning, by imposing this blockade or the economic blockade, because they said it's essential for their security. How do you think, have they been successful in maintaining security by imposing the siege?
Well, the blockade has nothing to do with their security. The blockade is simply an attempt to make life so miserable for the people of Gaza that they either submit to their Israeli overlord or go away, or perhaps die. The West Bank is effectively useless. I was in South Africa on a couple of occasions during apartheid, and the worst of the Bantustan, as the apartheid regime in South Africa called the Black Homeland, looked actually much better than the West Bank. And it's one of the comments that I made to people that it's not appropriate to refer to Israel as an apartheid state like South Africa. It's much worse than South Africa ever was. And so for the Israelis, the only really coherent Palestinian opposition to their greater Israel is not the West Bank, but it's Gaza. And so the function of the blockade is to isolate and punish and really not have any effect on security. Security is the term the Israelis use for consumption in the American market, and to a lesser extent in the Western European market. And it works as long as they're control of the media whole. But it doesn't have any tangible effect on their security, and they know
it. Dr. Sabrosky, we have witnessed these days throughout the world that there is an increasing expression of world's anger and frustration against the Zionist crimes against the Palestinians. One of these things is an incident which happened in California. A group of Americans launched a protest against the Israeli ship, and they tried to sanction them by refusing to unload their goods at the harbor. What do you think these things signify?
They're more symbolic than real. There will be these expressions, but it's important for people in other countries to understand that because of money, campaign contributions, and control of the media, these isolated expressions of dissent and unhappiness in the United States are not going to alter Washington's policy. Washington, Capitol Hill, in particular the Congress, has been described as Israeli-occupied territory, and it is. And while individual citizens and individual groups within the United States may very well stage local protests and local opposition, people dealing with the United States on the Middle East need to understand that in terms of its Middle East policy, the United States government is a wholly owned and operated subsidiary of Israeli policy. And that is not going to change in Washington. So if there is a solution to the Palestinian issue, to the drumbeat for war with Iran, which is going today about like the drumbeat for war with Iraq in 2002, it's going to have to come elsewhere. Something that I have suggested in different occasions is that the mechanism exists within the United States to circumvent vetoes. It's the UN General Assembly Resolution 377A, the Uniting for Peace Resolution. And when incidents like the flotilla attack happen, it's fairly clear the votes are there. What it's needed is that instead of individual countries trying to reconfront the Israelis, is try and get something through the Security Council that is so bland that the United States will either vote for it or not veto it, depending upon what the Israelis wish the United States to do, but to put it into the General Assembly. Use the Uniting for Peace resolution. That gives the General Assembly the same police powers as the Security Council.
Yeah,
and it was ironically
because we're running out of
designed
time.
by the United States.
Yes, sorry to interrupt you, but there is one more point we want to take up with you, sir. Sorry for interrupting you once again. You see, people around the world are showing increasing concern towards the Palestinians, and this is displayed by the continuous flow of aid flotillas towards the Gaza Strip. How do you think, how far can these activists or these people can go to block the blockade, or when it's to stop the blockade?
By land, not far at all. By sea, it depends on if they can get any of the countries whose flags the activists have to send warships to escort them. And it has to be that. Either warships with national flags or warships under UN colors. And that's what it will take to break the blockade. Until then, all that will happen will be the flow of activists and their ships to Ashdod and a trickle of supplies from Ashdod down into Gaza.
Another question, sir, is how far did the Israeli government go so far regarding the blockade?
How far? In what sense?
Regarding the attack on the Freedom Flotilla, do you think the Israeli government are thinking, or had been discouraged of doing another attack, or does it serve as an encouragement for other activists or other sympathizers of the Palestinians to do such other aid convoys, or to launch another aid convoys to the Gaza Strip?
Well, the Israelis are not going to be dissuaded from stopping them. And activists may very well do that. I know Viva Palestina and Free Gaza are already talking about additional land and sea convoys. But I tell you, they would do far more good in terms of altering the dynamics to send the convoy up, a sea convoy up the Potomac River and have it demonstrate in Washington, D.C. or
Sorry
send
to
land
interrupt,
convoys
Dr.
across the
Alan
United
Sabrosky,
States.
but because I'm sorry, sir, for interrupting you. Sorry, we apologize for that. But because we're running out of time, and we thank you anyway for joining us today.
http://satv.irib.ir